show today was brought to you by VitaPLUR E-Boost Gum. With no pill to take or powders to mix, VitaPLUR E-Boost Gum is a first-of-its-kind energy rave supplement that provides magnesium, electrolytes, and antioxidants while you chew. VitaPLUR is the perfect complement to my active lifestyle, whether it's at the festival, on the road touring, or hitting the gym. Chew VitaPLUR and dance with confidence. Use code LizzyJane for 10% off any order. Damian, thank you so much for joining me today.
Of course, thank you.
I appreciate you coming on. It's fucking crazy to think about the last year of your career. And so much of it is like, it's insane. I know I played with you like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I remember that was
Rochester.
Yep, I remember that. That was so much fun.
So much fun. And I remember like watching you too, because as I feel like a national touring act, which like you now are, which is insane.
Thank you so much.
You kind of go and you see the locals that kind of bring themselves to having their own fan base. You can tell they're playing their own music.
Yep.
And like, I remember watching you and I was like, damn, this kid brought like hella people out to see him.
Hell yeah.
And like, I can tell he's got like a vision of what he wants his project to be.
Absolutely.
So when did you feel like you started seeing traction in the Emorfik project?
So I want to say around like March, like literally like this year in Denver was when I really started to see things kind of like unfold, when I started to figure out like my brand more and what I kind of wanted to like portray in my brand. And like, as I continued with my own tour, that's when I really started to see things kind of like, you know, uplift into like what it is now and stuff like that. So I would say like around like, you know, around March time when the tour started to really kick off and everything like that.
And then how long have you been DJing and how long have you been making music?
So I want to say like 8 years now, but like when I was, you know, in my earlier teen years, I kind of like, you know, was on and off with it because I was in high school and, you know, I kind of like lacked a little motivation, but like, you know, all in all, like 8 years for DJing and like, I want to say like 6 years for making music.
And it literally, I feel like so many people look at individuals who kind of take off and they're super young, like yourself or like more Kismet or something like that. And it's never about the age. It's about the amount of time you've put in.
Absolutely.
Because when you look at it, you're like, okay, part of this project and part of like me honing my craft has been at this for almost a decade, which is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And you just kind of like build on it. You learn how to produce. That in itself is like, now that you're actively like putting out a shit ton of music that is getting like tons of listens and stuff, that craft is so hard to hone. And then once you hone it, you got to make it like yours, like your own sound. So did you take from certain inspirations when you started like crafting the sound for like the Emorfik project? Or is it more so like it was you kind of messing around in your DAW and you're like, okay, I'm going to go super dark, super heavy. This is what I want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I got a lot of inspiration, of course, off Skrillex's Original Answer, of course.
Yeah.
Virtual Riot was a huge inspiration off me. Recently, you know, Murata, Sudden Death have obviously been such a, you know, they have been like the peak, you know, like inspiration for like, you know, what I kind of like love my music to like be in that kind of category of just like very like dark, heavy, kind of like, you know, scary music. But like I want to say like Skrillex was probably like the most influential for me during the time when I was, you know, younger and everything. So
I feel like everybody I sit down and speak with, Skrillex. It's like it doesn't matter where in the world they've come from. It's Skrillex, 100%. And it's crazy to see someone like him too with like the newer music he's putting out, where I feel like it's such a time as an artist where you can see yourself evolve in the future and like start to do different things.
Absolutely.
And like build on from there. And I know now like you started making this super like heavy 140, 145, 150 music. Do you work in Ableton?
Yes.
Okay, so walk me through like a how to make a song 101 where like your process is. Do you start with like resampling, sound design?
So I kind of like, I don't know, like whenever I think of like a song, like, you know, I try to think about what will, you know, capture someone's head, like what will like make them react the most, you know, like a good song that really was like a good one for me was my song called Time.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of it blew up on the internet. And like, while I was thinking about it, I was like, okay, what could like, you know, really like grab a listener's attention? And I when I made it, I didn't really think too much about it. You know, I just trying to like, you know, think like, oh, what would kind of like, you know, grab the attentions, what would grab their attention. And when I posted it, I noticed a lot of people who, like reposted it and stuff. It was a lot of people who were working out and everything. And it was like a really cool, like, way of like showing their progress. And whenever I try to make music, like I said, I try to have like that like thought, like, who could this like grab?
Yeah, like the
if that makes sense.
demographic of like the listener almost.
Yeah.
Because a lot of like your music, like Sundest music, like I've had Figure on here and like we've spoke where like he watches like horror movies and like he'll like take inspiration from there.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times when I like listen to like your all stuff, like Murata, like all of that stuff, it's just like this very dark envisioning
Absolutely.
shit.
Yeah.
And I feel like you not only like feed into that in the music aspect, but it's also like your physical performance and your presentation.
Absolutely.
So tell me about the jumpsuit. Like, tell me about like the curation of the visuals.
So, like, I remember like when the last question you asked about like when it started to take off. So my manager and I, we were in Miami, and we were thinking about how we can like upscale my brand and everything. And then the straight jacket came into mind. And, we try to think of like the shock value, how we can kind of like really like not scare people, but like grab their attention, right? And the straight jacket came into mind. And it was like, ever since then, we've just developed the idea of the straight jacket with the visuals and like how we can like brand everything around the jacket to make it like scary and everything. So around like, March, April, May was when it really came into mind. And like, it's ever since then, it's been such a cool.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's like, I feel like a lot of times, especially now, so like you have almost like the artist version of you and like the personal version of you. Like you have like Damien and then you have your project. And a lot of people like those two things mesh because it's like their whole fucking life.
Absolutely.
And they put so much time into it and all this stuff. But when you have that like costume that you really kind of set into, like almost like a pop star or an old rocker or something like that, it gives you this new like world and universe to create.
Absolutely.
Where you have this like theatrical, what you said, shock value to the fans coming to see you. And it's like this whole entire performance from the second you start play to the second you're done.
Absolutely.
And speaking of performances, you did EDC Orlando on, which is crazy because you were on the art car, right? It was like one of like the stages that were like really raised up.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it was just slammed.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
And then that's where Danny came up with you, Sudden Death. And so tell me, because I posted on my phone earlier, I'm like, what do you guys want to know about Damien and about the project and the future of it? And everybody was like, album, Sun Death. so tell me about like your relationship, how this started, when you guys made the collab, go.
So I've known him, I mean, we recently got into contact when I got booked for his festival. I really got the chance to talk to him and kind of like get to know him more. And
so nice.
Yeah, such an awesome person. And at EDC, I got to run into him and we were just talking, shooting the shit. And, he eventually asked me, he's like, yo, do you have your laptop? I'm like, oh my God, I do have my laptop. And we just made a song in an hour and
like in the little rooms.
Yep. Actually, no, we had no green room. So it was literally out with like, 1,000
out in
people.
that little area. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. That's fucking crazy.
It was so crazy.
So when like the laptop opened, you guys both work in Ableton, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Was it like, hey, I have some sounds on a hard drive? Or was it like,
no,
hey, this is fucking blank and we're putting in a BPM and we're starting?
Pretty much.
That's so crazy. And I feel like it's like moments like that. Like, did you kind of have that feeling in your stomach where you were like a little bit uncomfortable?
Oh, I was super nervous.
Yeah, you were like, this is my time to perform. But that's how you like grow. And I feel like you fit so well in that niche.
Absolutely.
And you recently signed to United Talent Agency.
Yes, thank you.
Good old Max.
Thank you.
Gotta love Max.
Of course.
Yes. And that's huge. I mean, it's wild to kind of reflect what can happen in a year because you kind of go from someone who's regionally well known to getting picked up to doing things on, and I've seen with like your career, you've started building hard ticket value at a very early point in your career, which is like 150,000% the way to do it.
Thank you.
Because like that's the only way that you like will actively build yourself on those tier billings, on festival lineups and all that stuff. And having someone like Max in your corner is just so important for the long-term growth.
Yeah, no, my manager and I, before Max and everything, we definitely were focused in on like, just try to like more headline sets to kind of like put ourselves in our markets and see how we do to like, let people know even before it happened, before I opened up for bigger acts. And it was like, I'm really glad we took that route rather than just like opening up for bigger acts, if that makes sense. So.
Because you can just get stuck, even if you're on a major agency, you can get stuck in the support role forever.
Absolutely.
And I don't think that's anybody's real goal when they come into this.
Absolutely.
Everybody wants to push tickets. Everybody wants to be able to have a full creative vision, curate their lineups eventually like Danny is,
Absolutely.
curate them like Jesse is, And would you attest like a lot of this like accelerated growth? I mean, not only to the time you've already put in, because it's like you put that like 98 percentile time in and then like that 3% of luck comes in and you're right there,
Absolutely.
TikTok. Tell me about TikTok.
So I definitely think TikTok has been, if not one of the biggest things to help me get to where I've been. I think that a lot of people have a negative vision towards TikTok and like, it's just something that I look at as like, why not do it? It was literally just like, I posted a video one day and it just went viral. And like, it just kept happening. And it's like, it can literally happen to anyone. It's just like, obviously things have to factor in, like, you can't just be
Do you
like,
have music? Do you have this?
Yeah, of course, but like, it's just something that I feel like people look at as like, oh, it's just TikTok, it's just people dancing and doing like all that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, no, it's for literally every single person in the world.
Yeah.
And like, I give a lot of my, props to TikTok for what has happened.
And you're not the only one. There's been a number of artists that have been like, again, working their ass off for like 6 to 8 years. And they just didn't have that like social media outlet where they really popped off. And then they got on TikTok and they know how to do it. And that was it. And like a big thing with you was like, it started with the mashups, but then you were using your own music,
Exactly. And that's how you kind of like, because now it's pretty much just a report. Like the kind of like cool thing that I do now is like, I just post my music. And if it goes, like, if people like it, then I'm like, okay, I can finish this now. And it's like, kind of like you get to like know, because, it's not necessarily like, yes, you can like something, but like, if the fans or, people who support you don't like it, then it's like, what's it matter? I mean, obviously, like, whatever you make is still important, but like, you can kind of like dictate your release schedule by the people who support you. And it's really cool.
It's like, it's this crazy thing too, where it's like, I've sat down with like Funk Case before and we've talked about like dub plate culture and like the aspect of like, not sending your song out to everybody, sending it to one person and they're playing it. And I feel like in some sense, like TikTok is this weird version of dub plate culture where like you can like not send your song out to anybody, but it can blow the fuck up on TikTok.
Exactly.
And then everybody's like, when's this coming out? When is this doing this? And then you don't even have to share it with anybody.
Exactly.
And you see where the hype is. You see what they're, once you're like, hey, this is the subgenre I'm fitting in. This is my vision. This is my brand. Okay, now what do my fans want?
Exactly.
And go off there. And there's never been a social media platform like it ever.
Exactly.
Ever. And yeah, and I'm definitely one of those people. It was like really hard for me to hop on the TikTok train, but I see the value and I see the benefits. And unfortunately now, like it is part of our job,
Exactly. Yeah,
like,
you gotta, evolve with the times. And it's like, it's a lot different than what, when I first started out, it was like, more of like the traditional, just like
pictures and
this. Yeah, exactly. But now it's like, you just gotta evolve with it.
So tell me about the future. Tell me about stuff you're working on.
So there is unfortunately some stuff I can't talk about, but we have so much, the only thing I can tell you is I plan to outdo this year in some way and somehow, with
streaming, all
streaming. I definitely have a vision with my brand that is going to take it to the next level. And I want to just continue to do what I did this year, but just, keep going for the bigger, step. And, when it comes to branding, music, tours, and all that kind of fun stuff.
And that's the important part is just like not becoming stagnant. Cause I think what happens is when people have years like you do, they're like, okay, like we're fucking chilling. Like
exactly. I like my big thing, and like, me and my manager always talk about is like to never become comfortable. It's okay to, I obviously, try to like, take my accomplishments and, sit with them. But like, it doesn't mean that I could just like, okay, I'm done now.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously if people will get to that point in their life where like, okay, I've done my part, but like, I'm at that part where I'm just like, I've done it, but like, I want to keep going.
Yeah. And you're just beginning on like a whole new level. Whereas like you've established yourself here, and here. And now like this next year will be like you on like hopefully like a ton of festival lineups that are like in your genre and like all of
Absolutely.
that fun stuff. And I know like in the past, you typically, there's the whole like label versus self-independent releasing thing right now because you have things like TikTok where you can actively push your shit
Exactly.
and you don't have to sign away 50% of your master and have no marketing and all of this stuff at the same time. I know a lot of your stuff in the past has been self-released. Do you plan to continue building a self-released catalog?
Honestly, yeah, but I do have some labels in mind that I would absolutely
Love to work with.
Absolutely.
So what are your like top 4? Even if you have songs signed with them already.
Subsidia would be cool. Cyclops Recordings, I've
Yeah.
released with them once. Disciple would be amazing. I'm trying to think about what else.
Those are like for dubstep.
Yeah. Welcome Records seems really cool too.
Yeah, Keizo's label is really cool. Actually, all the girls who he has run their label live like down the dubstep FBI girls. They live like down the street. And the show Friday was fucking crazy.
Thank you so much.
It was you and Lee Must Die and Infect and Fizo. I have never seen Cervantes like that.
That was so much
I don't know if
fun.
I'm like a little bit older.
Yeah, that was so much fun.
I was just like, holy fuck. It was packed wall to wall. Balcony was completely slammed. And it was all like, give me rhythm.
Absolutely.
Give me heavy fucking dubstep.
Absolutely.
Denver's like, I would say, compared to Montreal, which like is still in the United States, like Denver's it for bass music.
Absolutely. Definitely. I have Denver has a special place in my heart for sure.
Oh my God, yeah. And so you're a manager. So I know like as like a lot of people's careers escalate, they kind of tend to hop teams or they'll get somebody from a team that has larger artists with them who come and like, hey, I have a proposal for you. So have your manager and you worked together since day one?
So no, actually we've only been together for a year now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't want to ever, he's like one of my best friends at this point. We talk every single day and he's like,
you have to be close to your manager.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Feel comfortable, feel safe, be like, hey, can we make this happen? And it's crazy because like in a manager's position, like they're working just for so long in your vision before like they see a return and they like have to be okay with like not, it's a crazy position to be a manager and they invest so much. And it's like once you finally pop the fuck off, it's like you're able to be like, hey, like, thank you.
Absolutely.
Like,
yeah,
you.
No, I absolutely give him my thanks all the time for the work he's put into me and he does the same for me. It's like we have such a good like relationship with each other. So
that's amazing. Okay, so before we go, I need 3 pieces of advice and I need to know how you curated your name. Okay.
So advice first?
Advice first.
My first piece of advice is just to be a nice person. I feel like a lot of people, I feel like DJs, not all DJs, but like I've met some DJs in my life that, I don't know how to like say this without sounding like a jerk, but
well,
like,
you get full-headed, you can be egotistical.
Yeah. And like your fans are the only reason you're here and why you're able to do this, and to, switch up on them is definitely something I do not recommend.
Yeah, no, 100%.
My second piece of advice is to focus on music more rather than DJing because your music is what's going to get you to where you want to be in life. And
it's so much harder.
Absolutely. And number 3 is focus on branding. Branding is just as important as music, in my opinion, because it's like what's going to help you like set aside you from everyone else alongside your music.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
And then Emorfik is basically a term meaning to get from one place to the next. When I was thinking of the name, I was in a really kind of crappy time in my life. I lost my old name, which was Dekai. I was trying to copyright it and like someone else had something too similar. And I like based a lot of my life around that name. And it was a really sad time. And it basically means to like evolve and morph into the future.
Oh, that's fire.
That's what that means.
That's actually a really big. There's so many people who I sit down with and they're like, well, we were like high watching a movie.
Yeah,
and then we came up with this name and like,
yeah.
That's really fucking cool. I really appreciate you coming on, dude.
Thank you so much.
If you guys have not checked out this awesome Humans music, go and check out Emorfik's music. There's so much on the way. And I'm sure you're coming to a lot of towns very soon.
Absolutely.
So it'll be really excited to continue seeing your project grow.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, dude. Bye, guys.
Peace.
See ya.